Hello there, my name's Sabrina Moreland, and as you know, I'm one of the librarians here at Walters State. And I have shared 3 videos on literature criticism database instruction, if that makes sense. And I realize that those videos have been based on how to research a short story. So what I wanted to do was sort of provide you with an abbreviated version of what you would have received from me had I been able to physically visit your class. So this is going to be condensed. You're probably really disappointed in that, but I want to give you some background on how to do some research for literary criticism because it is different from what you learned in English 1010 or even like communication class or whatnot. And I will confess that this is my second take on this video because I just was going for it and I was talking and talking and talking and realized that I have a 15-minute cap on this recording software that I'm using. So what I think is going to happen is I'm going to do this video in 2 parts. And so I'm going to talk for a little bit about how to do research for this type of assignment. And when I get to a stopping point, I'm going to make another quick video for you in addition to this one that will show you how to research for the drama that you're doing for this course. So 2 parts. Hopefully it won't take 10 hours. Just kidding. All right, so first off, we don't want you all to feel like this when you're doing research. So you start your research, doesn't matter what it is, and you might feel pretty hopeful. Your librarian comes, your instructor, everybody says, all you have to do is go into those databases and get you a really good source and you'll be done. It's easier said than done sometimes. We don't want you to start off feeling like Baby Yoda and ending feeling like the older aged Yoda that we're all sort of used to. So we hope that by coming to you, by providing these videos, we're making the research process a bit easier. So hopefully this will help out a bit more in addition to those videos that I shared with your instructor. So very quickly, there are differences, like I said, between English 1010 and English 1020. In 1010, you were given a certain type of writing to go by, so a definition paper, problem solution, exemplification. You had all these broad topics you could choose from, and there's a chance that you found articles in those general databases that really related to what you were talking about. So you had lots to choose from. Maybe too much information at some point, but you would probably have used Academic Search, Premier, and Opposing Viewpoints for that. Now in 1020, you are looking for a certain type of source, and that is literary criticism. And that's written by instructors of English, professors, experts in literature and English studies. And so that's what we're trying to find. To back up what you're saying, you're criticizing the work on your own as well. And so the topic or character or theme or whatever it is you're researching may or may not be common. And so the articles that you find that are literary criticism may only briefly mention your research and what you're looking for. So you have to look for it a little more deeply and comb through those articles. So that's like the not fun part. But I really think this type of research is easier in many aspects, and I'll get to that in just a second. We're going to be using databases that are subject specific, so literary databases and humanities databases. So that's also better in that you're going to get fewer results than you would in those big broad databases. So you have less to have to sift through, which is a good thing. So when we're doing this research, the access points or search terms or keywords that you're using are much easier. In the videos, if you've watched them, we did author Edgar Allan Poe, title Masque of the Red Death. So in this example I'm using today is based on a work of drama, as that's what you guys are researching. So I'm going to have Henrik Ibsen as my author and A Doll's House as my title. Now you all, when you go into the databases, are going to have Tennessee Williams as your author and The Glass Menagerie as your title. So all that's super great, right? You could do research on just those 2 access points and be in pretty good shape. Now, it's the third part, the literary element or technique or whatever it is you're researching about that work, that requires a little more thought and a little more planning. So you may or may not have ever heard of this play or read it, but um, there's this idea of feminism and Victorian gender differences, marriage, that sort of thing, on the character of Nora in this play. So that's the example I'm using. You guys are going to have maybe a different character you're examining from the Glass Menagerie. So what does Laura's character have to do with this story? You may also be looking at how the story relates to um, your your own lives or themes or symbols that stick out to you. So that's that third part that you're really going to have to think about when you go into those databases. So author, title, literary elements, what you're going to be thinking about for this type of research. Now, I always like to show this slide because perhaps during English 1010, you use journalistic questions to narrow your topic a bit. So who, what, where, when, why, and how. And I think these same ideas can be applied to literary research in that you could think about the character or the author as the who, or how does this theme relate to the human condition, or biographically speaking, how does what happens in this play or short story or poem or whatever it is, how does that author's life affect that? The conflict, where was it written? So all of these are ways to break down our topics a bit more. And just because I'm a big research nerd, I always like to sort of do my own brainstorming for anything I'm researching. And I do it in a lot of detail because I know when I get to those databases, I need some foundation to go on. So I might take all the characters in a story and look at them and decide, Nora is a housewife. She has a major role in the story. This idea of a 19th century woman interests me as far as feminism goes for this play. Her marriage to Torvald. What is the Victorian period's influence on this as far as time goes? Thinking about plot or when things were written. At some point in the play towards the end, so under plot, she has this epiphany and this big decision to take off and leave. Hope I didn't spoil the play for anybody. And then under theme and that sort of thing, maybe gender roles, role of women, and then that element specifically, maybe taking a feminist criticism or gender criticism approach, or symbolism, this act of her slamming that door at the end. So all these ways of breaking it down. Of course, yours doesn't have to be this detailed. I'm not trying to intimidate anybody. But you just want to really think about how you want to approach your character and different ways to think about that last part, that literary element. All right, so if you're still awake, this last slide, well, second to the last slide really, is very important. These are the 5 databases that are going to be most helpful for your English 1020 class. So you might have already looked at short stories. You might be examining poetry at some point. You're looking at drama now. So all of these are good for different types of writing. Now, like I said, I've sent those videos out on Literature Resource Center, eBook Academic Collection, and JSTOR. Literary Reference Center Plus and Humanities Full Text are also helpful. And the second video I'm going to make here in a little bit is just going to be based on the Literature Resource Center, just to give you an idea of how to apply that idea of drama and character, or whatever it is you're looking for. I'm just going to show you that one again, but everything we learn as far as how to search and how to think about those access points apply to the 2 videos on eBook Academic Collection and JSTOR. So all of that applies. You're just going to put in your terms. And they also apply to Literary Reference Center Plus and Humanities Full Text. Okay, so we're also going to be using those Boolean operators that we learned about in 1010 and other classes. So I might research a dollhouse and Nora and freedom or abandon. I might think about Henrik Ibsen and freedom or liberation. Now that's something I want to say is, if you're not finding what you need on your play or story or poem or whatever it is you're looking for, If you take that element, so feminist criticism or this idea of freedom in writing or gender roles or whatever it is, and you search for that element with just your author, there's a good chance you're going to find some articles that talk about your author in that context. So it may not just be your story or play or whatever it is. So keep that in mind. Now, the last slide before I end this video is just a reminder that you will be using MLA formatting. The library has a Citing Your Sources tab on its page, so that MLA LibGuide will be helpful. The Purdue OWL site is like my best friend as far as MLA and APA go, and you might even have a handbook that you can consult. I recommend the Purdue OWL site above these, out of all these three, the most. You do have to navigate it a little bit more, but it has all the answers you need for how to cite your sources. So what we're going to do is I'm going to end this video, and I'm going to take us into Literature Resource Center again, because I know you've already seen it demonstrated, but I do want to apply it to your drama research. So I'll be picking up in just a second with another video. Thanks for listening.